We all know that every single abortion is a tragedy. It's a tragedy both for the mother and absolutely for the unborn child, and it's a tragedy for culture as a whole. But the U.S. Supreme Court's 2022 decision regarding Dobbs, it changed the whole calculus. It changed it all. But how much? Well, catch this. A new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association has examined the first 14 states that enacted pro-life protections for the unborn after the court struck down Roe v. Wade. And the study authors found that those states have delivered over 22,000 more babies into the world. Well, that's how much rejoicing should go behind that information. It's just remarkable. Well, what were some of the other takeaways in that study? Well, let's find out. Joining me now with his analysis is Dr. Michael New. He's the Senior Associate Scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute and the Catholic University of America's Assistant Professor of Practice. Dr. New, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to have you.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Well, listen, this is fantastic news. Kind of give us the top line. What are some of the most encouraging parts of this study from your perspective?
Well, several things are encouraging. First off, Journal of the American Medical Association is not a conservative or Christian publication. It's a secular, frankly, fairly liberal academic journal. They're not going to go out of their way to highlight the impact of pro-life laws. So the fact that a mainstream journal publishes this finding is good news. It's very rigorous. They looked at 12 years of birth data from, 2012, 2023. They analyzed 14 states that enacted strong pro-life laws, either laws that protect all preborn children or laws that protect those preborn children born or at least after a fetal heartbeat can be detected. And they found these laws saved over 22,000 lives. And I think what's important about this study is it looks at birth data. One thing that's tricky post-Dobbs is counting abortions. Women can go out of state. They can get abortions in other countries. They can sometimes order these chemical abortion drugs through the mail. So I always tell pro-life audiences that abortions are hard to count, but babies are easy to count. The government doesn't do a real whole lot well, but it can count the number of children being born. So if we see an increase in babies being born in states that enact pro-life laws, that's very powerful statistical evidence these pro-life laws are saving lives.
Great point. Okay, break down for us. One of the things that kind of jumped out at me was the number of births, as you mentioned, have definitely increased, but the infant mortality rates have also increased 6%. They say 6% higher than expected. Break that down for us.
Well, it's kind of interesting. They claim that there's been an increase in infant mortality, but if you kind of take a look at the longer data that we have on infant mortality that goes into the second quarter of 2024, you actually see a decrease. They cut the data point off. So if you look at kind of the longer term trends in infant mortality, you do actually see a long-term decrease. Dobbs has not caused the public health problems that some people have predicted. Since Dobbs has come down, there's been actually an overall decrease of both maternal mortality and infant mortality nationwide. So these concerns about public health problems caused by pro-life laws are overblown. Pro-life laws are consistent with good public health. The countries like Poland, they have the strongest pro-life laws in all of Europe, also among the very lowest, if not the lowest, maternal mortality rate.
So what would you say to that person who is pro-choice and they point toward the fetal mortality rate as the reason why abortion should be legal in all 50 states? How do you push back specifically to that person?
Well, I think, laws can protect both mother and child. I think the pro-life laws are consistent with good public health. I think when you do see an increase in infant mortality, some cases it's because there's more children born with congenital defects. And that's certainly, a difficult situation. But you have to remember is that the pro-life laws aren't causing those defects. They're protecting those children. So instead of facing kind of a ruthless, horrible death because of an abortion, they're at least living out the natural course of their life and dying a natural death. And I know that's a tough situation, but I think, all life is precious, and, children with congenital defects should not be aborted. They should live the course of their life and again, die a natural death.
Is there anything in this study regarding women who traveled out of state to obtain an abortion, or those who self-administered chemical abortion drugs? What is there any info that we learn in those regards?
Well, we do know that's happening. I mean, we do know that there have been very big abortion declines in states with pro-life laws. The laws are being enforced, and we do see large declines in states with abortion bans and states with Heartbeat Act. So we do know that some women, tragically, sadly, are circumventing these laws and either getting chemical abortion pills through the mail or obtaining abortions in states where the laws are more permissive. But the good news is that not all women are doing this. Babies are being carried to term, and pregnancies are being carried to term. And this is not the only study. There have been 3 studies of the Texas Heartbeat Act, and one of which I did, showed that the Texas Heartbeat Act saved over 1,000 babies every month. Again, looking at Texas birth data. A study we have from the Institute of Labor Economics found that in 2023 alone, 32 more thousand children were born because of pro-life laws. So again, we do know that sadly some women circumvent these laws, but these laws are protecting thousands of preborn children, and more babies are being born as a result.
Certainly, this would also put a huge stamp, an exclamation point, I should say, on the importance that all of us have to elect pro-life leaders to various positions of leadership. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would not have gotten Roe v. Wade overturned had we not elected Donald Trump in 2016, and had we not elected, Republicans controlled majority of the Senate. It was Trump's Supreme Court nominees that paved the way for Dobbs. It was his nominations of Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett. They were the votes that we needed to overturn Roe v. Wade. So, I mean, politics isn't the only thing, but it's important. Who you elect does matter. Who you elect affects public policy, and these lives are saved because, again, we changed the Supreme Court. We got Roe overturned. Many states have elected good pro-life legislators and governors that put these laws into effect, and lives are being saved.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael New. Incredible analysis. I deeply appreciate the tremendous work you do, your leadership, and thank you for joining us today.
Many thanks for having me. Much appreciated.